Context clues, lesson 6. Using your common sense, which is such an important thing. But before we start the reading, let's look at some of our special words today. Context clues, lesson 6, right? So we have the word stalactite, which is three syllables. You see the you see how it's spelled, Stalactite. And when you look at the dictionary and you see those dots there, that lets you know the amount of syllables. STA is one syllable, LAC is another syllable, and TITE is another, is the third one. And then to the right in purple, in this case, is how you pronounce it, stalactite. Number 2, in orange here, we have stalagmite, another 3 syllables. And that's how you say it, stalagmite. Notice the upside down E there, which is called the schwa, is the same sound as So sometimes they'll put the UH for the sound. Sometimes some dictionaries will put the upside down E. There we go. Also on stalagmite, you see the I after the M. That's a long I. When you see a straight horizontal line above an I without a dot, that makes the I as in line sound as fine, mine. Okay, now so if you see the I with the dot, then it makes the short I sound as as in river, giver, liver. But this is the long I, so it's the long I as in fine, line, mine. Number 3, terrarium. And this is 4 syllables. And there's the spelling TERRARIUM and the pronunciation terrarium. Terrarium. Okay. And then the last one's a little tricky. I pronounced it wrong at first, and that's why I actually put this in the warm-up so you would know how to pronounce it. So it's first it's spelled PHILODENDRON. And it looks like it would go philo, but that's not how you say it, right? So there's a lot of times in English, it's not exactly how it's spelled. So the pronunciation to the right in purple is philodendron. Philodendron, which is a type of plant. Okay, philodendron, and those are our 4 special words there. Let's get to the reading of it. Using your common sense, they emerged from the low-ceiling passageway into a much larger cave, filled with weird and beautiful rock formations. As Kyo played her flashlight about the chamber, the shadows flickered and danced, making both stalactites and stalagmites look as though they themselves were shifting about. "This is a comparatively young cave," she said, steadying the light on a low-hanging spear-like point of rock, from whose tip water was dripping slowly and steadily. Visualize. See, most of the formations like this stalactite are still alive. The lime dissolved in that water is deposited a little at a time to form all these shapes. "I didn't realize we had a spelunker in our midst," Nancy commented with interest. Kyo laughed. "Ha, I used to poke about caves with my dad and mom every vacation, practically, since I can remember. Come on, let's look through here. Don't trip over those stalagmites." Study the context clues in the selection, then read each explanation and definition below. Which explanation makes the best sense for each word? Number 1, circle the letter of the best explanation, but you'll pick it in Google Forms. A, the girls are looking at rock formations at the moment. Spelunker must be a certain kind of rock formation. B, Nancy says she didn't realize there was a spelunker. The word must mean an unknown or undiscovered cave. Keogh's reply is meant as an explanation of how she became a spelunker. The word must mean someone who explores and studies caves. Number 2, circle the letter of the best two explanations. A, they are looking at a rock formation with water dripping from it. Stalactite must be a rock formation hanging from the ceiling. B, all the rock formations in the cave are formed of lime deposits. Stalactite must be any kind of rock formation in a cave. C, Keogh warns Nancy not to trip over stalagmites. The word must mean a kind of small animal that lives in caves. D, the cave is full of rock formations, both on the ceiling and the floor, where one could trip. Stalagmite must be a formation built up from the ground. Remember to use the process of elimination and then to pick your answer. Next up. Sometimes you can get the meaning of a word by a process of elimination. When you think carefully about the explanations, you will see that some don't make sense at all. Nancy says she didn't realize we had a spelunker in our midst, but she is obviously referring to Keogh, not to the cave or to any of the rock formations they are looking at. The stalactite is described as alive, but the quotes tell you this is a special meaning of the word. It is not alive as an animal is alive. And since Nancy talks about stalagmites and stalactites separately, you can tell from details in her speech that the words do not refer to just any kind of formations, but ones with specific characteristics. By applying your common sense to what may look like context clues, you can figure out which clues will lead you to the correct meaning. Tactic 5. Circle the letter of the best explanation for terrarium. Then check the box next to the picture that shows one. The first step in making a terrarium is to pick an attractive glass container, one that the light can shine through. It can be a fish bowl, an old aquarium, a big bottle, even a goblet or a mayonnaise jar. Wash it thoroughly so there's less chance of disease and insects getting into your little garden. In the bottom, put about an inch of crushed barbecue charcoal. Next, add 1 to 1.5 inches of pre-prepared garden soil. Build up the soil a little higher on one side for a landscaped look. If there's room, add a bit of moss, a pretty stone or two, or a piece of driftwood. Your plant should be the small, slow-growing kind. Small-leafed ivy, arrowhead, small table fern and baby tears. Philodendron. Use plants from 2-inch pots or unrooted cuttings. Since you can use a fishbowl or an old aquarium, a terrarium must be some kind of container for things that swim. B, because small growing things are planted in a container, a terrarium must be a little garden enclosed in glass. C, it is necessary to choose small, slow-growing things for the glass container. So a terrarium must be a kind of plant. And then you see this here. First one there, second one, and third image. And that's a wrap.